Welcome to my Hearts of Iron 4 playthrough. I have decided to create a historical documentary for my game with fictional characters, alternate storylines and more. In earlier episodes we saw the battle in Spain with General Student commanding the 4th Army. This episode will focus on the Battle of Madrid, where Heindrich's 12th Division is fighting hard to hold the capital. And of course there are many more other developments. Enjoy the show.
Dear Greta, it feels like a long time since I was last in Germany. At the moment, we are in a camp a good number of kilometers behind the front, and I have a week off to rest. Unfortunately, the weather has been very bad for a while. That's what you get with mountains. To say that waging war is fun? Not really. We are constantly on the move, especially when we are on the attack. You might think that there is constant fighting, but those moments are often very rare compared to doing nothing or walking. Still, I am proud of my unit and myself. We are fighting for a good cause, and the losses are manageable. Although, every casualty among us is, of course, one too many. How is your work going? Have you started somewhere yet? Love, Heindrich.
On August 4th, the retreating 3rd Division rejoined the 12th Division in Madrid. Student, seeing that the Republican attack no longer had a chance, decided to take a new risk. He describes his thought process in his memoirs.
When the 4th Army was fully assembled in Madrid and the attack could be contained, there was an opportunity to encircle a large part of the Republican Army. The 12th Division was well entrenched, so they needed to stay there. The 3rd Division was freer and could move. About 100 kilometers along the Tajuna River were Nationalist troops. If we could reach them, the Republican Army to the north would be encircled. What did we need for this? The strength of our divisions and reinforcement from the Nationalists in Madrid.
On August 6th, the 3rd Division was ordered to launch the assault. The enemy offensive had been repelled and had significantly weakened them without allowing a chance to reinforce. The operation would proceed swiftly. A day later, the area towards the Nationalist armies further down was already half sealed off. Given the enemy's weakness in this region, a direct advance seemed possible. Student seized the opportunity and launched another attack the next day to close the gap. In the meantime, the 12th Division would be reinforced by Republicans, who would also send reinforcements to the 3rd Division. Student described the 3rd Division's battle to close the gap.
The enemy knew this was a crucial moment. If this enemy brigade gave up, the gap would be closed, and there would be a chance to deal a significant blow to the Republicans. The brigade opposing us fought fiercely, but on August 18th, our 3rd Division managed to make the move and drive the enemy out of the river area. The gap was closed.
The total German losses up to this important moment in Spain were 443 casualties. The fight would continue in the coming months, but perhaps an end was closer than expected. Hitler was proud. On August 1st, 1936, the Olympic Games had begun in Berlin. He saw this as an opportunity to showcase his new Germany to the world. Von Ribbentrop, Minister of Foreign Affairs, mentioned the following in a radio address about the Olympic Games.
We want to show how a grand event like the Olympic Games can be organized effectively. In total, 49 countries with nearly 4,000 athletes are participating, and we expect our athletes to demonstrate their superiority. Besides a stadium built to house 110,000 spectators to watch the sports, we have also used a new film technique for the first time. We will show the world how sports in Germany are conducted and allow everyone to enjoy the high level of organization of this tournament.
The Berlin Olympics were a huge success for Hitler's Germany. They won 33 gold, 26 silver and 30 bronze medals. The second place in the country rankings was the USA, with Jesse Owens being the star of the tournament. In Spain, there was little time to enjoy the sports in Germany. Battles were breaking out everywhere in the country as the fighting parties tried to gain the upper hand. In the north, near the coast, the Republican army was trying to hold out to ensure that the important port city of Bilbao would not fall, a crucial objective for the Nationalists. In the east of the country, the Republicans were in the strongest position. They controlled the entire eastern coast and maintained a defensive line through the middle of the country, with Madrid as the focal point and largest battleground. In the south, Franco's Nationalists controlled the Strait of Gibraltar, making it sometimes difficult for the Republicans to get their supplies through. The battle was far from over. The attack launched on August 18th would be repelled on August 24th. Soldier Heindrich, fighting with the 12th Division in Madrid, described the situation in a letter to his father.
After about a week of fighting in the city, we were holding off the enemy's attack quite well. We were well entrenched, and the officers had a strong defensive plan in place. Occasionally the fighting was intense and there were casualties, but the enemy's attack never posed a real threat.
However, on September 2nd, the situation changed completely. The Republican army, with the help of tanks and troops from the Soviet Union, managed to break through the defense of a Republican brigade, serving as a bridge between the 3rd and 12th Divisions. This freed the encircled enemy army, allowing supplies to reach the trapped troops much more effectively. General Student reflected on this situation.
Where I should have done better is in proactive communication with Allied troops. We assumed that the brigade between our divisions would signal if it became untenable for them to continue the fight. But by the time we received this message, it was already too late. They were already fleeing. The weapons they faced were much stronger than those available to us at that moment. Russian material, heavy material, could make the fight in Spain much more complicated.
The Soviet troops General Student referred to were not a complete surprise. Almost the entire world seemed to be getting involved in this conflict, with major powers suddenly facing off against each other. Regarding the involvement of Soviet troops and other countries in Spain, and the state of the German troops, von Ribbentrop said in the Völkische Beobachter,
"We knew there were other troops in the country, and that we sometimes stood in direct opposition to them. But the fact that they had come with very heavy equipment only became clear to us later. We had chosen to send lighter divisions to conserve our resources. Additionally, it is good experience for our infantry to engage in the difficult terrain. Perhaps at a later stage, if the fight does not go well, we will adjust our strategy and deploy other supplies."
The earlier success had been undone, and the battle would not get easier because of this. Walter Funk was responsible for the development of the armed forces in Germany. The focus was on good cooperation between the army and the air force. The production of materials was progressing but still needed significant improvement. He spoke about this on the radio.
At this moment, we are heavily investing in the military. A new army, the 5th, is being formed, and many supplies are needed for this. The production of artillery is on schedule for now, but for the rest of the equipment, we need to step up. The intention is to create a stockpile that will allow us to sustain a prolonged war. Outdated equipment needs to be renewed.
Besides ramping up production, modernization also needed to be implemented. For this reason, Minister Funk appointed a new head of development for the Wehrmacht. Dr. Ernst Weber was tasked with overseeing this development. Ernst Weber had no military background but had an impressive track record in engineering. At the age of 52, he held a doctorate in electrical engineering, a master's in mechanical engineering, and a bachelor's in physics. His work experience included being chief engineer at AEG and head of research and development at Siemens. His main strength lay in the development of communication equipment, a specialty the German military was eager to integrate. Dr. Ernst Weber spoke about several existing and new designs in the magazine Deutsche Kriegsblatt.
The most important tank at this moment is the Panzerkampfwagen II. This tank is characterized by its high mobility and top speed of no less than 40 km per hour. It is easy to produce and transport to the front. Due to its lightweight, it can also cross most bridges without issues. Potential future problems could arise from its light armament and armor. Therefore, we are shifting our focus to medium to heavy tanks in the coming years. For now, we believe this tank can perform well in future wars. Tanks are becoming increasingly important, not only in our army but also among potential adversaries. Therefore, we have added a new weapon to our arsenal, the Panzerabwehrkanone 36, or PAK 36 for short. This cannon is specifically designed to destroy tanks. It fires quickly, is easy to maneuver on the battlefield, and is accurate. However, its disadvantage is that it has difficulty penetrating the armor of heavier tanks and is only effective up to 400 meters, meaning you have to be close to the enemy. We will closely monitor what our opponents produce and develop in the coming years and make the necessary adjustments accordingly.
The Battle of Madrid was not over. In fact, Madrid might even be lost. Heindrich gives us an update from the Spanish capital.
We are currently being attacked from all sides. Our units are holding strong and repelling the enemy without much damage, but the tactical maneuvering around us has begun. We need to stay sharp and might need additional help. Our Spanish comrades have it much harder. How long can they hold out?
In his headquarters, General Student began to feel increasingly pressured. He had taken the risk of advancing weeks earlier, but this had caused a disconnection between his divisions. Decisions needed to be made.
On September 16th, I decided to recall the 3rd Division to the 12th. The problem was that the direct route was cut off, so it had to be done via a detour. It would take more than a week for the 2 divisions to reunite.
Ultimately, it would take 10 days for the 3rd Division to reconnect with the 12th, and the much-needed reinforcement arrived just in time. The arrival of the 3rd Division changed the course of the battle in the capital. The attacking Republican brigades decided to halt their assault 3 days later. Madrid would be held, for now. The fight in Spain was not the only focus for Germany. The politics in neighboring countries also provided topics for discussion. On October 7th, a new king would come to power in Hungary. King Otto was a descendant of the renowned Habsburg family, which had provided emperors for Austria and later Austria-Hungary for many years. Having a member of this family in power could pose a significant challenge to any plans to annex Austria into Germany. Von Ribbentrop commented on this in the Völkischer Beobachter.
The Führer is closely monitoring the developments in Hungary. The unification of all German-speaking peoples is a primary goal, and a king whose main objective is to oppose this could cause future problems. We will establish contact with this new ruler and see how things develop.
Internally, there were also issues at play. These issues were not only related to Germany but also to the surrounding countries and the victors of the Great War. Wilhelm Frick, Minister of the Interior, said in a radio interview,
"Germany has been severely punished in an unjust peace agreement at Versailles. That we cannot decide where to place our troops within our own country is absurd, and something we must address. The Rhineland allows France to launch an attack on our territory without us being able to do anything about it. Additionally, the Germans living there have the right to protection from the government. We will engage in discussions with other powers in the coming months, but ultimately we must decide what is best for Greater Germany."
Elisabeth Hoffmann is a journalist for the newspaper Die Weltzeitung. Both of Elisabeth's parents were active in the education sector, providing her with a solid base for study. Her great interest in the world around her meant that she was one of the few women allowed to start studying political science at the Humboldt University in Berlin. Her major breakthrough as a journalist came in 1926, when she published a series of articles on the aftermath of the Treaty of Versailles. Her thorough analyses, deep knowledge, and excellent network allowed her to produce high-quality work. A conflict that attracted international attention was the one in Ethiopia. In her newspaper, she wrote the following about Italy's victory on October 16th.
A conflict that has been reported on frequently has now ended. After a brutal campaign, the superior Italian army overpowered the poorly armed Ethiopian forces. The Ethiopians offered brave resistance, but the war could only go one way. With this conquest, Mussolini's colonial ambitions have been fueled. In 1896, Italy lost a war against Ethiopia, a thorn in the side of Italians looking at the history books. This loss has been rectified. What we can expect from Italy in the coming years remains uncertain. We do know that Mussolini is keen to strengthen ties with our Führer. Die Weltzeitung will keep a close eye on this.
More than 3 weeks after the 3rd Division had rejoined, the Battle of Madrid was still raging. German troops fought hard and bravely, with brutal street fighting becoming a daily occurrence.
It is tough here. Every day we face attacks from an enemy that controls everything except a small access road to the city. Fighting over a house, a crossroads, a fountain, a park, or whatever you can imagine has become the norm. We are well entrenched and are now experienced soldiers. We know what can and cannot be done. We will hold out.
General Student saw his troops win the Great Battle for Madrid on October 24th. The battle would be the heaviest in the war up to that point, with 1,600 casualties on the defending side, of which more than 500 were German troops. General Student gave an update on the radio about the state of affairs in Spain.
Our soldiers have bravely defended themselves and shown themselves to be elite troops in the street fighting. As a nation, we can be proud of them. This victory in the Battle of Madrid is the next step towards the end of this war. In the north, nationalist troops are working on capturing Bilbao. In the central front, a brigade has already been eliminated, and the elimination of a heavy division is near. And in the south, our allies are making progress. By diverting attention to Madrid, we can give them the upper hand in the fight. It is not easy and will take some time, but we will win in Spain.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, if you're interested in how these series unfold, join the stream and tell me there.